Underwood from State of the U, of course, our weekly guest on Wednesday night. Cam, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm better now that we don't have to talk about that terrible team in the state south of Michigan anymore. We can talk about some real football players down here. And, well, they call it South Beach, but it's not actually South Beach. Coral Gables, Miami Gardens is actually where the stadium is. Down here in Miami, what's going on?
I always find it amusing when Cam comes on after an Ohio State guest. This seems to happen more times than not.
You do it on purpose, and I get that. Like, whatever. Like, I know you're, giving the people some kind of ancillary secondary entertainment here by messing with me, but it's okay. I get it.
I don't do it on purpose. Basically, Cam's got his slot that's locked down right here, and we do a great job of providing that for you, Miami fans, that you can lock into Cam's knowledge and insight and see what the deal is, Cam, as I hit 10,000 subscribers today.
Oh, nice.
It was my so thus the balloons and the display and so forth. So I and we have a cake here. So if you can't read that, it's the voice of college football, 10,000 subs.
Got you.
So I anticipated hitting 10,000, even though we hit the air at 99.84. We picked up 18 like that, which was very nice. So basically, I threw out a link to have anybody else that wanted to join us tonight. So I tried to fit in several people before Cam's designated time.
All good.
All right,
congratulations,
sir.
Man, definitely.
Well, I am scrambling right now in regards to any kind of topic. So I'm going to let you intro. I'll dive into the live chat and see what people have to say and what they would like to ask you.
Got you. I'm going to be kind of quick here. There were a couple of things in the wonderful world of recruiting this last week. So Miami missed on two linebackers, 5-star Antoine Sampa. I think that was right before I came on last week. And then 4-star Jit, who just went to Florida State, Jayon McCluster. So Sampa, a lot of people thought he was coming to Miami. He ends up picking LSU. Jayon McCluster was between Miami and Florida State, but leaning Florida State from all accounts all the way through, and he chose Florida State. On Monday morning, I wrote an article after debating with people about the failings of recruiting linebackers, just because Miami doesn't have any game-ready linebackers beyond the starting four of Quarterman, McLeod, Pinckney, and Romeo Finley, the striker. So in whatever permutation of, all four on the field together, three to the field together, who cares? Behind them, there's nobody. It's terrible, and we've seen that for years. So I was talking about that, and people were saying, I don't know why recruiting you think it's bad or that anybody would think it's bad, and I was going back and forth about that. But, I mean, whatever. So anyway, I wrote an article about that saying that my linebacker recruiting needs to get better. Published that at like 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. About 6 hours later, A.J. Mathis committed to Miami, who's a 3-star linebacker from Largo, Florida. Same town as Jayon McCluster, but a different high school. They had talked about being a package deal and going to the same college, but obviously one's going to Florida State and one's coming to Miami. So they kind of let that be in the background. So, it's kind of funny. Everybody was like, okay, say that, we need 5 stars at every position, and we need this and that, because if you wrote that we need to upgrade linebacker recruiting and a move was made within 6 hours, then, say something else that we need, and then we'll get it, which was kind of funny. I mean, I wish I had that kind of poll, but I think it was a good move to get A.J. Mathis. He's 6'1", 210-ish, and he could really run and he could hit. So, if you're looking for another Mike Pinckney type, that's who he is, and that's a good thing. So, and Miami had 0 linebackers committed in this class up to that point, and needs linebackers in the worst way possible. Like, all the starters are leaving, and Patrick Joyner, if he sticks at linebacker and is able to take his performance from the final couple game scrimmage of the spring and spin that forward into good performance, wonderful, great, good, glorious. I don't know if that's going to happen, and I hope that it does. Avery Huff is a prototype linebacker, especially for playing in space, because he's about 6'3", 200 pounds. He could probably gain weight up to 220 and still keep his athleticism, hopefully. Sam Brooks is still coming back off of a knee. But past those guys, there's really not anything. And then behind Romeo Finley, we have Gilbert Frierson at striker. And, I mean, I think that Gilbert Frierson's going to be good. But coming out of high school, I thought he was going to be a safety. Put him in center field and just let him go sideline to sideline. So moving him down, there's development that's needed there as well. So once, those guys at linebacker leave, linebacker and striker, there are some major question marks moving forward. So this is why linebacker recruiting this year is integral. And, there's nobody else on the roster of consequence at linebacker that's been recruited in any of the last 4 years, because you had these starters in front and they started from their freshman year, and they, you can kind of let that slide and say, oh, they're going to be around. They're going to be around. They're not going to be around anymore. But AJ Mathis is a good get, and he starts to bring in additional players of quality to that position. So if you have AJ Mathis, Sam Brooks, Avery Huff, Gilbert Frierson with development, and Patrick Joyner, now you have 5 guys, of which you need to have 3 on the field at once. They still need to get better, but that's a better situation than before. And yes, I'm completely discounting anybody else that I've not mentioned at linebacker because they haven't shown me anything. So if they want me to talk about them or they want to be in the conversation, then they need to show something. Apart from all of that, in 2020's recruiting class, also in 2020, yesterday, Miami took the commitment of Justin Hodges from Western High School in Davie, Florida, around the corner from American Heritage, around the corner from Sawgrass Mills Mall, if you're familiar with South Florida here. 6'1", 155 at a corner DB. Could play corner, could play safety. People are talking about, there's people who are pushing back on this and who are questioning the take. Hi, I'm people. I'm questioning it because the kid ran verified 4.9 at the opening at 6'1", 155. That gives me great pause. And I know people are talking about, watch the film. I've watched the film. I've seen Western play a couple of times in person because, they play in a district with Miramar and they play with other teams that you would watch. So I've seen him play a couple times. And he's a decent enough high school player. But a take this early of a guy who, one, is that underdeveloped at that size. And yeah, I know that 17, 18-year-old kids are going to physically develop. That's fine. But a 4.9 40. 4.89, so a 1/100th of a second slower than 4.9. That's backup plan. That's a plan B, plan C type kid. You know what I mean? Miami doesn't recruit linebackers who run 4.9, but we're recruiting a DB / athlete, an edge player, a skill position player who runs 4.9. I don't know, man. And, people are talking, maybe it was a slow track that day, or maybe this, or maybe that. Yeah. It could possibly be any of those things. I go off of what I've seen. And what is verified is he ran 4.9. You know what I mean? And he, plays a little bit faster on the field. I'll give him that. He's not completely stuck in the mud, but he's not going up against any of your Rio blazing guys. Love him, and I love him on my team. Al Blades Jr., who is, I think they're cousins, by the way. But Al Blades Jr. got burned by Terrence Horn from Miramar, who was a track star, and he went to USF. He had the 290-something yard kickoff returns in the same game, that kid, Terrence Horn. And he went straight by him. So, there's other guys. And Al Blades ran a 4.6-ish. You know what I mean? Verified. And that just gives me, I don't know, man. I saw the, Twitter video of Justin Hodges jumping 6 feet onto the plyometric boxes in the weight room and things like that. Look, I'm not going to say he's not explosive because, dude, if you jump up 6 feet, you jumped up 6 feet. Full stop. But I don't know. It seems like a reach. It seems like Justin Hodges, to me, is a kid that you take after you miss on other kids, but you're taking him now in May. Why? And I get that he's 6'1" with long arms, but I just don't see it. I don't. And if you're out there and you're a person who sees it, okay, we can disagree on that point. But yeah, so he committed yesterday and I wrote up about that. But yeah, it was kind of a cut and dry piece because quite frankly, I'm not enthusiastic about him as a prospect. And, maybe he's 3 years before he is a contributor guy, like Michael Jackson, who was a part-time guy. His 3rd year as a redshirt sophomore, stepped up to being a starter. His 4th year as a redshirt junior. Maybe Justin Hodges is that. But in any event, he's in the 2020 recruiting class right now, which currently ranks 4th nationally. So that is 2 misses at linebacker, 1 commitment at linebacker, and 1 commitment at DB / athlete / I don't know. And In the 2021 class, the last piece of recruiting news is top 15 player nationally, number one safety in that class, James Williams from American Heritage, just decommitted yesterday. And you know, that one, I mean, he's a five. Well, they don't give out 5 stars this early for the next subsequent class. That doesn't come until after the spring or into the fall, I want to say. So everybody's a 4-star right now. But if you're talking the number 11 overall player, the number 1 safety in America, and he's 6'5", 218 pounds. So he has a physical profile to match the athleticism and the performance. That's a 5-star guy. So losing a guy like that off of the commit list is obviously not good. And I've talked about this before. Miami has routinely, I mean, since Al Golden was here, since Randy Shannon was here, not the current recruiting class, but the next year's recruiting class has pretty much invariably been ranked 1 or 2 a year in advance. And then the attrition happens, the decommitments happen, and then all those guys end up going to Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, Florida State, wherever else, and not Miami by and large. I hope that that's not the case. I know that James Williams, he's very much on social media, so I know he's going back and forth with people about his thing, because everybody says respect my decision. Personally, I respect everybody's decision. I would like it if every top-tier recruit came to Miami, but I know that that's not feasible, and they're going to pick the situation that's best for them. And sometimes, in some situations, it is better for them to leave South Florida. I'm not saying that's the case with James Williams, but it has been with other players. Some people are not as understanding as I am. And they, say things recklessly and things like that. And I see people in and around the fan base who are saying, maybe people need to check themselves and their privilege and coming at, these 17, 18-year-old kids or a 16-year-old kid in James Williams' case about their decisions about their life. And I get that. But then again, James Williams also earlier this year tweeted out that he was going to stay loyal and committed to Miami and would never decommit. I believe those are his exact words. And when you're out there saying things as a virtual certainty of that kind, it is easy then just to say, this aged poorly or, come back on it. Like, actually, I pulled up the tweet right here because somebody sent me a screenshot. And say, yeah, one thing about me, my loyalty is everything, 100 emoji. I will stay committed to the U. And he tagged DJ Dallas and he tagged Coach Bonda and he tagged DeMarcus Van Dyke in that tweet. And that was from December 13th of last year. So, I know that things can change, but maybe this is why you shouldn't be so braggadocious to begin with. Because you come out with a statement like he tweeted those words. I didn't make him. Nobody else made him. He tweeted that. I'm going to stay committed. My loyalty is everything, period. The end. And then you change your mind. It stands to scrutiny that people will question that. Now, there are some in the fan base who were out of pocket. But it's social media for one. So people have that, anonymous bravado. And then people are just overly emotional about sports. So they have that as well. But stripping all of that aside, a 5-star player at 6'5", 220 pounds who could stay at safety, maybe he grows into an outside linebacker because he's gigantic. I've seen James Williams in person. He's huge. Decided that he wanted to decommit from Miami. That cannot be viewed as a positive. I'm just sorry. So, hopefully the staff continues to communicate with him and everything. Hopefully, the social media antics of some does not ruin his viewpoint of the University of Miami and the Canes football program. But, to every action, there's a consequence. And maybe the reaction online does actually have a tangible effect here. But either way, 5-star player in the 2021 class decommitted. And yeah, that's never a good thing. So yeah, 2 misses at linebacker in this class, a linebacker commit, a 4'9" cornerback, defensive back commit, and a decommitment in 2021. And that is the recruiting movement of note this week.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, with Cam Underwood from State of the U, breaking down Miami football as we do each and every Wednesday night here at 8:30 Eastern Time. We appreciate the support on the channel. And, of course, jump over to State of the U for your complete Miami football and sports coverage, top to bottom. Cam has without knowing it, answered the first question of the night. So we appreciate the contribution from Junior in the Big Dog, asking about any inside information on what happened with one James Williams from American Heritage, the number one safety in the country, as the listing I just looked up online from 247 Sports.
And let me jump right in on that. Everything that is heard is not for repetition. You know, if you want to go back to the Gerald Willis situation, if you want to go to anybody's recruitment, if you want to go to those things, like, if I can say it, I will, in general. Like, y'all know me. Like, I keep it 100, like, on here, on the website. Like, I'm not really one to hide things that are able to be said. That's all I want to say about that.
Yeah, so I certainly work in a business as well and deal with situations in which, you have to be careful with your words, and you certainly want to be as transparent and give as much information as possible. But there are just certain situations, and then Cam is specifically dealing with situations and trying to be in being a journalist and analyst and running a site where he has to make sure and verify information, and there's just a lot of traps and a lot of pitfalls that have to be avoided.
I would rather be right than first.
Yeah.
And single sourcing information, as in you hear it from one person and you run with it, is not anybody's standard in journalism. And I'm not a trained journalist, but I know that. You know what I mean? So, and in recruiting in general, take everything that you hear with a grain of salt, because there's always a motive. You know, if you're hearing from a coach, if you're hearing from somebody who lives by the school, whose nephew's son's girlfriend's brother plays on the team with insert player, like, there's always an angle. So, like, you have to, you know, triple, quadruple, quintuple source things and whatnot. But, you know, sometimes things just, I mean, I've said for years on here that recruiting is like dating, and sometimes people just grow apart. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that could be it. But again, with James Williams in particular, there's still a cycle and a half left before he could even sign in December of 2021. So that's what, 19 months from today, 19 and a half months. Like, there's still plenty of time. So, yeah, things will happen as they're supposed to. And if he recommits to Miami, like, we'll welcome him with open arms. If he chooses to go to insert other school here, I mean, it wouldn't be my favorite thing, but I'm not going to, you know, wish ill of the kid. Like, you know, Godspeed, all the best.